And a happy Wednesday to all. Rocking something different today. Red Sox Now. Red hat, right? This is an old school Portland Sea Dogs Stars and Stripes. July 4th. We still do this. All teams have an alternate cap. And I grabbed this one. They were really cool when I worked there. They gave us a lot of free stuff. So I figured, hey, let's rock that. For those that don't know, I'm a minor league broadcaster, 29 seasons. Next year will be my 30th. I was in Portland for 15 and now with the Woo Sox. So I've been with the Red Sox organization since 2005. And I'm from Mass, and I'm blessed. Blessed to have all you aboard. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments that we'll read on the last segment. Like, share, follow me on social at The Radio Mike. Last month, we did a Friday show that was all your comments. I am totally down for doing that every month. Maybe we do it every Friday if it gets popular. But we will do it at the end of November. So the last Friday in November, that'd be Black Friday, that will be your day. So the sidebar will belong to you. Well, that was quick. Good news, Trevor Story has opted in. I have talked to many of you about this. I found the episode that I talked about this, that the Red Sox, and I have it in front of me. I've had 4 people that I reached out to who I'm very reliable sources that told me that this was not, they weren't completely sure this was true, but I have it in front of me. If Story opts out, the team can opt back in by adding a 7th year, which would be 2028. So you got a big position sealed up, a priority position. Catcher, shortstop, center field. You're good. Right? And if something were to happen where there was more of a decline from Story, you do have Marcelo Meyer, which we don't know. Obviously, a little bit of an unknown because of his health. But I like knowing that you have a backup. I felt like a lot of Red Sox teams in the past, they'd have one little hole in the wall, and they'd patch it up, and then another leak would come. Even during the great years. And that's being a little selfish. But I felt sometimes that they got into positions. We saw this. I brought this up a lot with third base. Remember? The Pablo Sandoval deal happened because you didn't have anyone to play there. Like, the Red Sox don't have those issues now. And you might not love some of the players that are certain positions, but you never want to get to the point where you don't have anyone that can play third base in the big leagues. Like if something dramatically were to happen to Bregman and say they couldn't get anyone to fill it, you do have Meyer could play third. Now, you don't want that, obviously, but my point is this. It's not going to make you go out and have to sign someone for 7 years. Remember when the Red Sox had no outfielders? Remember that? Remember when they had, like, I don't know. I can't remember the number. Wasn't it like 15 home runs from their outfielders? That was so I remember the day in Portland, 2014, being with Mookie. I mean, and that was just ridiculous. We knew from about a weekend. By the way, I don't know if I've told this story. Mookie's first Double-A at bat in Reading, Pennsylvania, he worked a full count, hit a home run. Boy, was that some foreshadowing. And Henry Owens pitched a rain-shortened no-hitter. That was one of the best teams I've ever been with, the 2014 Sea Dogs. You should Google that. But my point is this. I remember they moved Mookie to the outfield, but I remember that day going into the manager's office and him showing me the card and said, you might want to tweet this out before anyone. And I did. And I remember hitting send, and it just went crazy because we knew the Red Sox were so desperate. Now, they were desperate, but Ben Cherington, and we knew, we watched Mookie play outfield once. Okay, he can play there. Literally the second game he played, he made a catch at the wall in Trenton, New Jersey, 407 feet away. He went all the way back, reached up, caught it, hit against the wall. We're like, yeah, he can play. And then he went to the big league. So there were times where it was they had positions that we like, what's going on here? But this is, again, back to the story, the Trevor. Priority position, he stays. Listen, I got some people telling me, and I'm not trying to be contrarian or be different, that says that Trevor Story owes the Red Sox. He doesn't owe anything. He would not stay. Plus, he's making $25 million at 33. I do think he really likes being here. He's got a pretty good gig, right? But I don't think if his team found out, like, listen, we can get you 35 per year for 5 more years. And maybe, listen, they're not all like that. Maybe he's not like that. Yeah, he doesn't, I don't know. I don't know him personally. I saw him play in Double-A. I know that when he was in Double-A, the radio guys loved him, said he was great. He is a pro. I like how he brings all the young infielders and does a special Trevor Story camp before spring training. And the fact that he committed so quickly, says a lot. And I'm going to get to another guy in a few minutes that we're going to talk about. So that's good to get that position. I really believe Alex Bregman is staying. I do. I do want to. I don't usually do this. And before we get to Duran, okay? A little birdie. I do have some sources. I have some good sources. This is very reliable. And I'm just going to say his first name because I always butcher. Boy, that's the Boston accent. Shota. I always butcher his last name. But I know for a fact, I trust this source, that when they were doing the negotiations when he came here, the team he really wanted to pitch for was the Red Sox. I know he's going to be 32. I like him. He's old school. I know he had some injuries last year. But I know that he wants to be here. And what is very interesting this year, you put him in the mix. There are a lot of Japanese players that are going to influence all of this with Murakami, Okamoto. There's some really good Japanese players. And, I want to echo something that I've heard from many national writers. A couple things. A lot of these guys are opting out as well because they're not sure about next year. So they want the money, the guaranteed money. But let's get to the good stuff. Major League Baseball had an unbelievable 2025. From those play-in series that extended to 3 games, from the last month of the season, the unpredictability of a lot of things that happened. Cleveland having the month, the Red Sox, the Tigers, the Brewers. It was an unbelievable season. Young rookies, really young. I used to see rookies 25, 26. Obviously, we don't see that anymore. The influence of more and more young players to this game, which started years ago. And when I was calling Sea Dogs games in the mid-2000s, I saw the turn to get younger. And I said the game is better with younger players. It is. Skeens, Crochet, those young arms. Baseball has really, with rule changes, with just overnight, have really made things great. And it just, they got to figure out, they got to figure out, you know what, cannot have a stoppage. They can't. I know it's bulletproof. We've seen it over and over and over again. And I've been told since 1988 the money's going to ruin the game. It never has. I remember when Ryan Sandberg signed this big contract and I had everyone tell me, oh, baseball is dying. It's not. It always resuscitates somehow. All right, the Red Sox and Duran avoid arbitration. This is a big thing. They wanted to avoid that. I saw some things on social media saying, Duran didn't really get a good deal. He made $3.8 million last year. He got double his raise. The Red Sox declined his option, bought it out because I don't think they wanted to go to arbitration. And a lot of people are looking at that negatively, but maybe not. Maybe the Red Sox did right by him. How do we know an arbiter would have ruled for him to have more money? Maybe they wouldn't have. They wanted to avoid it. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. So he gets a substantial raise. And I like Jarren Duran. A lot of people think I don't like Jarren Duran. That's not true. There are parts of his games that as an outfielder, I don't love him in the outfield. I think that's universally noticed. My thoughts have always been with him. And Chris Cotillo, by the way, mentioned something that I mentioned. And he has said that league sources and people have confirmed this. I said that if the Red Sox were to try to get Joe Ryan or big-time pitcher, Rafaela would have more value. And he has confirmed that a lot of people around the league, that's the guy. And it had no knock on Duran. And I know all the numbers, and his floor is amazing. Right? If this is as bad as Duran will be, he could come back next year with the same amount of games, all those extra base hits, and if he hit 270, 275 and stole some more bases, it's a really damn good player. But he's a little bit older. Not old, but in terms of how other teams operate, like the Twins, they're going to go more for upside. Younger, controllable. Rafaela's got a really good deal. Gold Glove. They're looking for toolsy guys. Duran does have tools, no doubt about it, but they want, more of a complete player defensively. This is all fascinating, and I've always tried to read in between the lines with what the Red Sox are doing. They gave Rafaela a deal. They gave Anthony a deal, so those two are playing in the outfield all the time, unless they move Rafaela. But the way Cora talks about Abreu and those two outfielders, it always kind of gave me context clues that they were going to move on. Or they don't do that. And they rotate like they did, and Yoshida's the odd man out. I have no issues with Duran as a player at all. Just defensively, I don't love his game defensively, but I am not opposed to them keeping him. I don't have any emotion either way. The people that like Duran, that love Duran, they sometimes can be a little more unrealistic, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You should. You love your players, but I really don't either way have any emotion towards it. If it makes the club better, but I don't think that keeping him is ever a bad thing. And I talked about that during the deadline. I've always just been on the stance if it helps improve your team. Because getting pitching, as we see, can be impossible. And the fact that you landed Crochet might not happen ever again. Because I don't know if teams are going to continue. Now, Skubal, yes, and probably Skeens because of the money situation, but Chicago could have kept Crochet. They decided they didn't want to. They could afford it. So I mentioned this a week ago because things were a little bit slow. I told you it will speed up. Shane Bieber only met with the Red Sox last offseason. We talked about it. We would like him to be here. He is staying with the Jays. I am surprised at how many people are surprised about this. A lot of Red Sox fans, not all of you, just think every single free agent or player that's opting out is someone that's going to come here. Like we're doing, and I do it, I mean, but not, but I'm not thinking that every guy that opts out you have a chance at. That's the difference. Every player that doesn't sign here, that goes somewhere else, we think, oh, we could have had him. But a lot of Boston Twitter people this morning, because I look at this stuff, I have it marked, they're just looking at, I don't know what they're looking at. Maybe it's because things have become so analytical, or maybe it's more because of what Rob Bradford reported, that they did meet and they were close to signing him. But I don't see why people are surprised at this. Why would Shane Bieber, why him staying with the Blue Jays is not good for him? And I'll tell you why. Did you watch the Ernie Clement post-game interview? You should. He's in tears, going on and on about how much he loved this group. That's a real thing. We're in a baseball savant world. We put no value on that, which you have to. And I think a lot of people don't because they don't know. I know because I'm inside. It matters. Lou Maloney was talking about he didn't realize how much Bregman mattered to that team because he sees it. He's in the clubhouse every day. Ernie Clement on that post game said, I just want to stay with these guys for a couple more hours. I didn't want this to end because he loved. That's a real thing. Now you can say, well, that's part of, that comes because they're good. No, I mean, yeah, but I still think that those guys there, that's a genuine brotherhood that they built. And I give Toronto so much credit. They brought in a young manager a few years ago with that core, with the superstars, but the players they brought in and what they were able to build, culture. We talk about this a lot. And Shane Bieber was all in. Max Scherzer was all in. They were all in. And a terrific group of guys. So the fact that he's staying with a team that was a few outs away from winning the World Series, I don't know why it would surprise anybody. Why doesn't Toronto have just as good a shot, if not more, than the Red Sox? There is no one in Toronto thinking that they're not better than Boston right now. They are. Right now, I mean, I just scoreboard. I mean, they got to the World Series. You didn't. That's a better situation for him. It's less money. We don't know what the Red Sox were going to offer. So again, people will be mad at, but he decided to opt in. I think he could have gotten way more money had he stayed, or had he opted out. But I commend him for that. $16 million. You don't think he gets more the way he pitched in the playoffs? You can give me all the injury stuff you want. Doesn't matter. Pitching, I mean, these are gems. He made $3 million, by the way, his payroll number with Toronto. 7 was with Cleveland. So he had the player opt in. He gets a $6 million raise. He's comfortable. Those things factor. Players factor that stuff. Yeah, I like it here. Every player is different. It's okay. I think these are two good examples today. Story, and Bieber. I think I've had some people text me and say they're surprised about Story because they felt there are some bad shortstops in baseball. Okay, yeah, we don't know. Again, I don't know any of those conversations. 25 million's a lot, depending on who the team is. I don't know what teams are looking for that. Teams could say, well, we don't know if he's the shortstop anymore, but it could be the fact that, and I really put more percentage on this with these two guys. They like where they're at. Well, then that means Bregman doesn't like where he's at because he opted out. No. Different agent, completely different. So I actually really, really like Shane Bieber, and I commend, now listen, he's opting in for $16 million. It's not like he's opting in for $16. It's a pretty damn good pay raise. $6 million. I mean, he barely pitched, but that's a good move for the Jays. Comments before we put a bow on Wednesday. At Jason Hunt, 4251. Re-sign Bregman and Nathaniel Lowe. Then get Joe Ryan and get that guy Pete from the Mets. Yeah, I'm not a big Nathaniel Lowe. I don't know. I wasn't impressed. I don't dislike him. I think you do better than that. Right? I mean, I thought he was okay defensively. I see why two teams have given up on him, though. I'd be okay with Alonso, too. Maybe DH, put Casas at first. Kevin W. 3330. Either signed Alex or B. Not sure what that means. Not. Just hope Red Sox keep moving forward to make the team better. Yeah, I mean, they are. I mean, I know that we Jones for roster moves. We want all the hot moves. I'm indifferent to that. I want the best players. I don't care how that happens. I'm not a big trade deadline splash. Like that should not complete your team. You should do it through player development and making good offseason moves. I think the Red Sox did so much last offseason. If they retain Bregman, your three. If you had a movie poster of moves from Major League Baseball, Chapman, Bregman, and Crochet were three instrumental, game-changing moves from players you brought outside the organization and the development of Roman Anthony and Connolly early. That's 5 impact players. I don't need the Red Sox to go out and go nuts this offseason because I like a lot of what they already have. Should they improve? Absolutely. My point is this. I don't need, I get comments about they needed to make, 4 to 5 to 6 moves. No. Now, minor moves. Keeping Bregman, if they were to get another impact bat, right-handed power, and a pitcher. But if they only made 1 or 2 moves, I'm still confident it's a pretty good team. It's a really good team, really good core. You're close to 90 wins last year with all those injuries, and you found out a lot about players that you think can help you for next year. And my point is this. You're not going to trade for Hunter Green, sign Schoolbull, Kyle Tucker, but you're not going to get 4 or 5. I'd be happy with Bregman, a right-handed bat, and a pitcher. And then fill that in with, I'm okay with bringing Matz Wilson back, especially Justin Wilson. At Chad Hamilton, T3M, when Roman comes back healthy, a lot of things will sort themselves out naturally in the outfield. Yeah, well, that we know. Would the Red Sox do this? They still can trade Duran because that's a pretty good deal. Or would they trade Abreu? Or will they trade Rafaela and bring in someone we don't even know of. This is a fascinating offseason because there are so many directions and there's so many things that we can say could happen, which we love. We love all of you. I do. FanArch is the sponsor of Red Sox Now on this Wednesday. Subscribe on your way out. Make sure to comment and share. Continue to reach out to me on my social media. I get a lot of people that are reaching out. I will accept all friend requests. At the Radio Mike is where you can find me everywhere. Happy Wednesday, and as always, go Sox.